All right, everybody. Salutations from the one in the blanket. Welcome everyone to the Reaction Sleepover. This is where we get cozy and we react to stuff. Today we're doing more Bridezillas and other Weddingzillas. Let the insanity ensue. Bridezilla's grand wedding ended up as a backyard party with a pig's head? Huh? About 15 years ago, my aunt met a rich and really nice and fun guy and went from a normal and down-to-earth to entitled. How unfortunate, she says as she observes the peasants below her. She quit her job to become a stay-at-home girlfriend and ditched all of her poor / it's middle class, regular people, friends and family to make new rich friends. I'm sure they're so wonderful. No red flags at all. They got engaged after 1.5 years and started planning a huge wedding with 150 guests in a castle, and she allegedly bought a 10,000 euro dress. She became a classic bridezilla. The food wasn't fancy enough for her, and some of the guests couldn't afford a ball gown for her white-tie dress code. I'd be completely not surprised if she genuinely was like, I'm princess, I'm about to be queen, and my subjects must wear what I deem. Bet you weren't expecting a rhyme today. She wanted to approve everyone's outfit, and if you didn't have something fancy enough, she threatened to uninvite you. Oh, what a threat. She didn't mind losing some of her last poor friends, but as her rich friends started dropping out because of her behavior, she started lashing out. Like a wild animal. Are we surprised? No. She started demanding that the venue replace some of its beautiful antique furniture with modern furniture for her wedding. It just had to be redecorated. Apparently she started threatening the castle owners, so the venue dropped her. Yes! The karma begins to unfold. What did she expect? She starts demanding from the castle owners themselves, and they're like, no, we don't have to. Go somewhere else. So did the caterer for unknown reasons. She was so insane they had to leave the country and just start a whole new life and identity, so she couldn't find them. Since it was less than a month until the wedding day, they ended up having to improvise a wedding in their garden. Which is fine, there's nothing wrong with that, but like in this context, it's so funny thinking about how upset she probably was. They got a handful of beer benches and tables, champagne from the groom's expensive collection, out-of-place fancy decoration intended for a castle. It's just a regular, like, backyard wedding with fancy stuff. A really bad DJ. She's getting down back there playing YMCA. All right, everybody, let's go. Why? Fancy 3-tier wedding cake with whatever food they could order from bakeries and butcher shops on short notice. The centerpiece of this improvised buffet was a full pig. Ah, that's where the pig comes from. About 50 people showed up. I bet they weren't even the rich friends because now this venue was too poor for them. Funny how things work out, huh? The best man spent half the afternoon cutting apart that pig and telling everyone he had raised it himself. In the end, the leftovers of the pig, especially the head, became an unintentional party game. Party game with a pig's head? The thing itself, and the fact that, can you imagine what the bride must be thinking at this point? They're like tossing around a pig's head. I imagine maybe one of the games, and she's just there, just... Come on, sometimes you have to improvise. I'm sure it was still nice, despite your wenchitude. The groom and his friends started dressing the head with sunglasses, hats, and other accessories. The bride was so embarrassed and devastated that she left early. Despite her guests actually really enjoying the party, she left her own wedding. Can you imagine? A bride leaves her wedding, everyone else stays and keeps playing with the pig's head? That is such a funny image. I wish I could see that. They had a nightmare of a daughter and then got divorced 4 years later. To this day, it's the most chaotic but one of the funniest weddings I've been to, and the pig has achieved legendary status in our family. She gets angry every time we mention it. So she deserves. Also, at a certain point, and this is like 4 or more years later, just laugh about it. Come on. Them playing with a pig's head? That's just funny. At least your peasant friends know how to have fun. That was great. That was a wonderful story. Karma is lovely. Am I the a-hole for distancing my family from my brother / sister-in-law after sister-in-law attempted to uninvite my wife from their wedding? My younger brother was getting married. I was asked to be best man, and his fiance, now wife, almost uninvited my wife from the wedding 10 days before the event because our childcare fell through. Another one of these. I'll get my red flags ready. I wish you could do that. Every time you come across like a toxic person, you just have tiny little red flags. You just go in their face. Stop. Do not proceed. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Desist. And then run away. My wife debated on not attending early on since our first kid was only 2 months old at the time. We needed to buy plane tickets, prices were high for our budget. They usually are. We ended up agreeing to go for a short trip, and my wife's parents would watch our baby at our house while we were out of the state at the wedding. That childcare fell through because my father-in-law is receiving cancer treatment. That's a pretty good reason. Was told a slot open for a procedure that he needed to do that exact weekend in a totally different city. The next available slot was another month away, and his doctors did not recommend waiting that long. So our 7-month-old was now going to fly with us, and we were reminded that she could not be at the wedding events. Thanks for the reminder! 2 days after learning this, 10 days before the event, my brother communicated that if we didn't have a babysitter confirmed by noon tomorrow, my wife would not be allowed at the reception. And not at the wedding, since she'd have to keep our child outside the church. What is with people, like, being so adamant about the no kids thing that, like, they can't even be in the same vicinity as them? Are you afraid of them, like, cursing you or something? What's wrong? Like, I don't necessarily see anything wrong with wanting a child-free wedding, but also don't be such a butthead for people who are trying to make it work for your demands. And as soon as things fall through, and especially for valid reasons, you get mad at them and actually uninvite them? Just have a reality check, please. Stop. Even if we found a sitter in 24 hours, she would not have a place set for her and would be expected not to attend. This was blamed on the wedding planner needing numbers. I offered, assume she is coming. I will inform you if we can't find someone before they ever set up for the reception, and I will pay you for and eat the meal she is supposed to get. Just assume she's gonna be there. Please. We are trying. I was told that doesn't work for my fiance. My fiance says you need to confirm a babysitter by noon tomorrow or your wife is not allowed. Oh my gosh. Just calm down. It's not that serious. What kind of ransom note, meet me at this gas station at 3 a.m. with $10 million nonsense is this? Against the odds, we found a sitter within the next 16 hours and attended. That's impressive. I just would have not gone. If someone was already like this deal breaker with my own children, maybe just don't go. They clearly don't really care that much about you. I had to be very delicate in my best man speech. Oh, I can hear the passive aggression. That must have been spicy. It wasn't fun and has created a base level of distrust between our families. Am I the a-hole for distancing? We don't initiate communication or interaction. We will attend events if they are present. My family from my brother/sister-in-law after my sister-in-law attempted to uninvite my wedding from my wife, my wife from their wedding. I'd say no, sir. Not the a-hole. We had a child-free wedding and we were pretty strict about it, but putting myself in your brother/sister-in-law's shoes, I would have handled that entirely differently. I probably would have offered to help find childcare by reaching out to my local friends with kids, and I certainly would have just assumed your wife was coming and been fine with the no-show if not. It's pretty crappy that this was handled the way it was, and I also don't like that your brother blamed it all on his wife. The first lesson of marriage should be that you're a team with a unified front, and it seems like a cowardly way for him to put it all on her, when clearly he agreed with the decision enough to push you on it. I like how this person mentions they also had a child-free wedding because that inherently is fine. And you know, I make jokes about like people who have child-free weddings, but frankly, not everyone who has a child-free wedding is crazy. It's just when you start acting like these people did, where it's like, this doesn't need to be nearly as big of a deal as you are making it out to be. Please calm down. I agree, it was handled very poorly, and I don't blame them for distancing themselves, because they need therapy! My 20 male, sister 28 female, said our dad isn't invited to our wedding, and my dad still told me to attend. Our dad was blinded last year in an accident. Oh, that's intense. Now my sister's saying she doesn't want him at her wedding because having him finding his way around by tapping his can on the floor wouldn't look good? That's horrible! That's your father! And he has no choice but to have to do what he needs to for life to be accessible to him. That's so sad. Your poor father. She wants everything to appear perfect. I decided that I'll skip the wedding and stay with him to cheer him up, but then he told me to go and be there for my sister. His father's too good for this world. I want to give him a hug so bad. She uninvites him for simply just being blind because it's gonna ruin her perfect day. He also told me he understands the way she feels and will still be helping with some of the expenses. I could tell he's really sad about it though. No.